Okay, you should see in the upper left-hand corner of your Zoom screen a little icon, red button that says recording that lets you know that it's recording. Okay, this is a webinar put on by the Presbytery of Charlotte as a way of introducing people to the use of Zoom in their churches, and hopefully you'll find some ways to make use of this in your setting for the time that we're in. Let me get here to my. Okay, just some housekeeping matters. We are recording this, and if you haven't, there's a way to test your speaker and microphone. If you're having issues hearing or us hearing you, you can check that with a little test that's built into Zoom in the icon at the bottom left of your screen where it probably says mute now with a dash through it, a line through it. But you can click on that up pointing arrow and it'll show you a place where you can test your microphone to make sure everything's going good. And everybody, it looks like check the name that's being displayed on your screen. It's always good to have your name as you would like to be called, because that's the only way we have to know who it is for those of us who may not be familiar with you, to know who's with us on the video. So you can rename yourself just by clicking on your right-clicking, for those of you command clicking on the Mac, on your own video, and there'll be an option there to rename yourself, which you can do. Okay, is everyone good? All right, trying to get, there we go. There are different ways to look at the screen, and I don't know how yours comes by default, depends on whether you've been on Zoom or not before, but if you look in the upper right-hand corner, usually it's up near the top right, you'll see a little icon that either says speaker view or gallery view. If you click on that, it'll give you a different view of what's happening. If you're in the active speaker view, it'll show you a big picture of me and just 4 people at the top. And you can scroll through the rest of them by clicking on the arrow to the side of those. Move back and forth. It only shows you 4 at a time. But if you're in the active speaker view, you can click up on the little box that looks like the puzzles, like a tic-tac-toe board, and that'll switch you back, and you'll be able to see everybody that's on the call at the same time. That's nice if you're gathering like for a committee meeting or a group or something, so that you can see and see everybody simultaneously. There's also a screen share button, which sometimes will come into to play. If I'm sharing my screen, you will see that there are a couple different ways to view people. I'm going to do that here in just a second. There are 2 options. You can have the top row of thumbnails like you saw in the active speaker view, but also you can set a side-by-side view, and I'll show you how to do that. So you're seeing my screen share right now. What I'd invite you to do is go up to the top of the screen, and when you go to the top, it'll pop down a little drop-down menu that has some options on it, and you want to go over to the side where there's 3 little dots, and it'll say More, and if you pull that, no, it doesn't show you?
My pull down bar has 50%, 100%, exit full screen.
Okay, it doesn't show you. Are you on what computer are you on? PC or Mac? Mac. Okay. Becky, do you see the option?
Which option are you looking for?
I'm looking for the one that says side-by-side view in a screen share.
Yes, it's the second from the bottom. Julie, can you see right above Stop Participants?
Above participants?
So in your view options from the top, and it says 50, 100, 150, 200, 300.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come down and you see request remote control through hide video panel.
Well, that's because you're a co-host. You're seeing all that, okay. Becky.
Then side-by-side mode is right under that.
Yeah. Okay, if you're
I see.
You see it?
This is Katie. I see the side-by-side. I can't get the pictures to be across the top.
Well, then you turn on you turn off the side-by-side mode.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. The benefit of the side-by-side mode is you can still see a large group of people on your screen if you make the pictures bigger, but it makes your screen share smaller. So you really need a bigger screen in order to be able to pull that off. So go back to the gallery view or the active speaker view, whichever one works the best for you, and we'll keep going. There's also, you can also have the ability to pin a thumbnail, and this is in your local view. If you want to just concentrate on one person and not see everybody else, you can right click or command click on your video thumbnail, and one of the options will be pin the video. And if you do that, it'll make that person big on your screen no matter who's talking. Ordinarily, the person who's talking is the one who's featured in that view. But if you you can unpin the video by doing the same thing, or for hosts, if you're hosting a meeting yourself, you can spotlight a person, which if you spotlight a person, it'll make them the featured speaker regardless of who's talking in the meeting. If that doesn't make any sense, it'll get clearer as you'll see, as you begin to use it, you'll see the times when you would like to have someone featured in the midst of a conversation. Okay, what I'm going to do, this is, you can see the Zoom meeting controls there. Where's my highlighter? Okay, can you see the highlighter on the screen there? Now this works for the Mac and PC. On your tablets and smartphones, it's going to be a little bit different. You have to look for some of these features are not there. Some of them you have to find by pulling down a menu at the top of the screen. Or tapping on, if you're on a tablet, if you tap on the screen, it'll pop up the menus and you can see there what to do. But usually you have a place to mute your audio, which many of you have already done. You can also mute your video, which stops it. The Manage Participants button or Participants allows you to open and close a participants panel, which allows you to see everybody on the meeting and also gives us some additional features, which I'll cover in just a second here. You have the ability to share screen if your hostess allowed that, and then a chat panel, which allows you to chat among yourselves or with the whole group. So we're going to try some of those just as a way of testing how things work. But first, I want to give you my brief devotion for the day. Can everybody see that or read it? Those of you on the telephone, it's a cartoon that says, Pastor Don cancels church, and he's laying in bed with his eyes wide open. He says, what if my people discover they don't miss church, they don't need it, and actually enjoy not going? Wait, what if I discovered that too? Which is a real danger for us, I guess. I want to do just a quick poll so we can see how things are going. If you will open your participants panel, and you should have seen where that happens in your Zoom menu at the bottom of your screen. Open your participants panel, and there will be icons at the bottom of that. What I'd like you to do is, if you're all ready to go, you can click on the yes button, or if you're really adventurous, you can pick any of the other buttons. I just want to see that there's some kind of response. There you go. All kinds of folks are responding. Wonderful, wonderful. If you have, this is a quick way to do a quick check-in to make sure everybody's doing okay, or if you want to do a quick vote, you can do that. Becky, if you'll erase those.
I will.
Okay. Clear all in the bottom right hand of the participants panel. Okay, there you go. That's how you wipe out the responses. So that's one way to do just a quick check-in. There's some options there for yes and no, go slower and go faster. And if you click on the more button there, it gives you some thumbs up and thumbs down icons that you can use in a variety of ways, however creative your imagination is. So in addition to just a quick poll like that, you can also do a chat. So I'm going to ask you to close the polling just by clicking on the poll button icon one more time, and then open the chat icon. And you'll see a chatting screen, you type your message at the bottom of the screen, and when you press enter, it sends it. So be careful. Don't do what you normally do and press enter at the end of every line. But I'm going to ask you just to type in your name, what church you represent, and anything that you're hoping to, how did I put it? Where's my, I need my notes. Okay. Okay, there you are. Your name, your church, and one thing that intrigues you about using Zoom. There we go. This is a quick and direct way to take attendance actually for something like this, because the chats are actually recorded separately and are available to the host whenever the meeting is over, so you can see who's attended. Okay, we've got a lot of folks who've checked in already. Thank you for doing that. If you're still working on it, then just keep doing it, and we're going to keep going though. You can close the Zoom window when you're finished. If you've noticed already, when there's a chat posted, it pops up an orange marker. The chat icon changes to orange and pops up and tells you how many things that are there for you to look at. So you know when someone has sent something. It's also possible to send individuals a message privately, and sometimes people do that. It's also possible for the host to prohibit that function so that all chats have to be public. So it's up to you as to how to do that. Okay, I want to just speak a little bit about the capacity of Zoom. Zoom can do one-on-one meetings very easily. It's like a FaceTime chat or any of the other ones you do on a smartphone. The free Zoom plan allows you unlimited time for 2 people. But as soon as you add a third person, you're limited to 40 minutes. So if you're just doing a one-on-one conversation with somebody, like you're checking in on one of your officers or something, you can do that, and it's unlimited time if it's one-on-one. But add more than 2 people, and it's limited to 40. Unless you get the Pro plan, which is up to 100 people on the call, and that allows unlimited. Practically, it's limited to 24 hours in duration, but that's not going to be very likely for most of us. But it's basically unlimited length of time, multi-hour meetings, and up to 100 with a basic plan, and you can add on the ability to do 500 and 1,000 if you want to get real aggressive with that. Webinars, which are basically a way to do presentations with one or several people speaking, but everyone else just observing and not being as interactive, that is available as a separate add-on and does include a registration process for that as well. Okay, just a quick word about Zoom pricing. The basic is free, as I mentioned. If you have more than 2 people, there's a 40-minute maximum. The Pro is approximately just right at $150 per year, or you can pay a monthly $14.99 and just drop off the months that you're not going to use it. I mean, it's an easier way it's a less expensive way to do it. If you're only going to be using it for 9 months out of the year, just pay for the 9 months, because you can reestablish your account just by logging back in and putting your information back as well. That's 100 people max, and you can get add-ons, as I mentioned, that'll go up to 1,000 people, and various other features that work well with that. So why would you want to use Zoom? There are multiple platforms this is available for the Windows, the Mac, the Android, the Apple, and Linux devices. So just about everything technologically out there has a Zoom app that'll work with it. It makes it a very broad-based. It's simple in use. Most folks can pick up on just the basic features in just a few minutes of starting a meeting. And it's also possible for hosts or their co-hosts to actually remotely check in with a person's computer and solve some issues while they're doing other things. So it's a neat way to connect. There's no account needed to participate in a basic Zoom meeting. So there's a misconception that everyone who's going to use this has to create a Zoom account. That's not the true. All you need is the meeting link that is sent out as the meeting invitation, and that will allow you access to the meeting. So there's ability to record the meeting built in, which, as you see that we're doing today, and that's very helpful, especially if you want to post it for people who can't attend, or someone who's doing meeting notes and want to go back and review what was said, or just archiving the experience for future use in the life of the church. It's also very well established across fields. It's highly, one of the most common uses in business, in education, and in telemedicine. Has been a huge increase in use in just the last couple of weeks. Zoom is one of the first people that really put some energy in making that happen. And they've also done a wonderful thing. They're making Zoom free to use for K through 12 in elementary and junior and high schools. So their company has, it seems to me they have their values on pretty clearly in a proper way, and I highly recommend the company. So I'm going to give you a chance to, I'm going to stop my screen share just for a moment so we can see everybody. And I'm going to do one of the things that's built into Zoom, which is a poll. And this is initiated by the host, or Becky, you say the co-host sees it also? Okay. So I'm going to start a poll. It should pop up on your screen. There are 2 questions, and I'll ask you to look at them and answer them, and then we'll get to see the results of that here in just a moment. So here we go. Oops. Wait a minute. I'm very sorry. I'm going to launch a different poll. I picked the wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. This is the one we need today. Okay, so those who have on smartphones, it may be more difficult to participate in the polling, but we've got 12 of 28, so only about 42% have voted. Just give you another 5 seconds here. Okay, it looks like all that we're going to get. Excuse me. We'll end the polling, and then I have the ability to share the results with everybody, which I'm going to do. Now you should see do you see on your screen the results of the poll? Not yet? Shake your head if you can see them. No? Becky, you can see it?
I can see it.
Okay, let me see if I need to share that screen. Okay, well, it says it's sharing the poll results. No one's seeing it. Okay.
And I just got a pop-up that said share screen, but it says host disabled, participant screen sharing with an OK symbol.
Yeah, well, that's because right now I've turned off the screen sharing for participants. So
Cool.
you just see it's a box that has the results of the polling in it, so you're not seeing that. Okay, well, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but ordinarily it's an easy and quick way to do a quick poll, take the temperature of what's going on, or if you need a formal, it's set up to be anonymous, so it's not designed to track voting or anything like that. But you can do a variety of polls and have them keyed up and ready to go. I'm gonna stop that. I'm sorry that didn't work. We tested it and it worked in one case, but apparently not today. All right, let's see.
Wait,
Yes.
see if you can do it now. Can they see it now?
Yes, I just got it now.
We had to hit share results.
Okay, I did that on my end.
Huh, I did it on my end and I have magic fingers.
Becky is magic. Thank you, Becky. That's why you have a co-host. And let me say, one of the best practice is if you're doing this with a group of more than even half a dozen or 10 or 12, that you need to have somebody else watching beside you, making sure that all the things are being taken care of, and having a co-host is very helpful. So has everyone seen the results of the polling? You see how that works? Okay. Harry, did you see it? You can just nod your head. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to stop that then. Okay, that should have disappeared from your screen. Very good. All right. All right, I want to share with you a document. And Becky, if you'll check the chats when things pop up in case there's questions that we need to attend to.
We do have, I have one question so far.
All right.
Do you need the pro account to add people with a regular landline telephone?
No, you do not. Because even with a free account, you get access to the telephone bridge so people can dial in just like a telephone conference call.
Is the limit still 3 people on the free account?
The limit is 2 people for unlimited time. If you want more than 2 people, you have to have a pro account in order to use more than 40 minutes in a meeting. Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to go back to the host guide here. I'm going to share, where is it? I have created a document. I'm actually going to send you a file through the chat function that is eventually you'll have 3 files today, but this is the first one. This is the hosting guidelines, which is like a reference guide to this. And it just posted in the chat. And you should be able to, when you open your chat, you'll see the file. You can click on that. It'll open up in whatever program you have that reads PDFs. And you'll have the option to download that file to your computer, which I'd encourage you to do. And then I'm going to screen share that document so everybody could see it. Okay. Can you see a document that says Zoom video conferencing host guide? You can see that. This, I'm not going to go through this in detail. I just want to touch on a couple things, but you have the document yourself. You'll be able to go back and reference this. This is just a quick overview. If someone is interested in getting started with this, they do need a pro account if they're going to use all the features and the number of people in unlimited time. So, but again, participants do not need a Zoom account to join the meeting. As long as the person who starts the meeting has a pro account, then you're good. There's the zoom.us web interface on the internet. The web has a lot of feature settings, and there's so many that you can't begin to touch on them until you start having some experience with Zoom. But that's the place where you can set things up, including scheduling meetings. And you can schedule a meeting there, or you can actually schedule a meeting in the various apps. But as you discovered today, if you're new to this, for the first time you tried it, it will prompt you to download an app or a little program that you install on your Mac or PC. That from then on you won't have to do that again. That's there, and it'll be there for you. So you just need to click on the link that comes in your invitation, and it'll take you directly to the meeting. Audio and video can sometimes be a problem for people. If you have a good audio and video set up, you'll be fine. But if you start noticing you're getting a lot of echo or feedback, it probably means you're going to need to use a headset of some kind, and that can be like the earbuds on an iPhone or micro headset for Android, or if you have a Bluetooth headset, you can use that too. But it helps sometimes to separate that audio sound out of your computer into a headset. It'll eliminate a lot of echo and feedback. As a host, you actually have to start the meeting. You have to click on the link yourself, and because you're recognized as the host, it'll just start right up. Just a quick reminder to use a hardwired connection if at all possible. Wi-Fi is dodgy often, and if you're in a place that doesn't have a strong Wi-Fi signal, it's going to be difficult for things to work properly. And what you'll see is people will start, it'll be difficult to hear them, the sound will be delayed, the video will start dropping out, and if the video does that, you can turn off the video and just use the audio capabilities of Zoom, like a conference call if the video's not working, and that will still work for you. I've listed a whole bunch of tutorials there for, as a host, getting started with all this, including how to start and join a meeting, to how to invite people, how do you screen share, how do you use a PowerPoint presentation, a whole bunch of things there. They're either a detailed explanation, or often there's a video that goes along with it. So that document is going to be useful to you. As you might imagine, do we have a question, Becky?
The question, I think I got it, but the question was, so you can't host a meeting under the free version. And my response was, you can host a meeting with the free account if you are only on for 40 minutes.
Or if you're only one other person, you can go indefinitely. But the free version is limited in two ways: to the number of people you can have for the free version. And if you have more than 2 people, you're limited to 40 minutes a time. Now, what some people have done in a very creative way is they run for 40 minutes. It knocks everybody off. They just come right back a minute later, and they just keep going for another 40 minutes. So, and when I talked with Jan Edmondson about doing this, she said they use the free account a lot. She says it's a really good discipline to help people focus on what needs to be done and get it done before the meeting quits. So, I mean, that's a way to think about this as well.
We have another question. Yes. Is the Zoom app needed to participate? If only the link is needed, how are folks directed to the link, email, and text?
Okay, as soon as you click on the link that's set to them, if they do not have a Zoom app on their computer or device, it will prompt them to download it from the App Store or from the appropriate place on the internet. So it always knows to ask you for the Zoom app if you don't already have it. If you've already got it, it just goes ahead and joins your meeting. Are we still good? Okay. All right. Let's see. I wanted to show you a meeting invitation so you see what that looks like. This is what goes out to everybody. You've probably seen this yourself, but I'll just make a point of looking at it real briefly. It tells you the topic of the Zoom meeting, and that's set when you schedule it. Otherwise, it's just a generic thing, which is not very helpful. So it's always good practice to change the topic. It gives the date and time, and gives the link here. There's also a meeting ID. You may notice that the meeting ID is the same as the last part of the address, the URL on the Zoom meeting link. So that's what you're doing. Is if you join a meeting and don't have the link in front of you, or someone can text you the meeting ID or the link, you can still get on even if you don't have this whole formal invitation. There's also instructions on there for mobile connections. If you want to dial in by phone, as some of our folks have done, you can cut and paste this whole thing into your phone dialer, and it will automatically dial the Zoom number and enter in the meeting code and have you all set and ready to go. You don't have to do anything. So those are very helpful to have. If you're dialing in from somewhere else, and there is even international dialing capabilities, there are local numbers in most countries, so people from outside the U.S. can dial in. But the best practice is use a number that's close to where you are, and that avoids untenable delays and lots of issues in the audio. So as you might have guessed, let me stop the screen share here. As you might have guessed, there is a participants guide as well, and I will send that to you in the chat room. And this is something that is designed so that you can send out to your people ahead of time, like in an email announcing the meeting. You can include this as an attachment, and it will provide just it's a one-page thing. Try to make it not overwhelming, but it basically tells people what they need, how to get the Zoom client that they'll need, and reminds them about the earphone and headset in case, especially if they're in a noisy location, using a headset or the earphone is going to be very, very helpful. There's, some of you probably saw, there's a way to test your audio and video before you join the meeting is the best practice. But once you're in the meeting, you can also make adjustments if things aren't working properly. That is in the audio icon at the very bottom of your screen. And I've also put some tutorials here. These are video and text explanations of how to do the things that you want to do. One notable is testing your setup. If you just want to see if everything's working properly, you can zoom into this meeting, which is specially designed so that you can see if your audio and video and your microphone and all is working properly. That's very helpful. And it goes over the meeting controls as well. So was that, I wasn't screen sharing that, was I? Oh, okay. Did everyone get a copy of, get that document?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have these, I'll send these to the Presbyterian. They'll probably post them somewhere on their website where things can get them. Okay.
Bon, we have another question.
Yes. Yes.
Can you add an upcoming meeting to your calendar or in your app if you are not the host?
Help me understand that a little bit better. Do you mean automatically, or what's your set? Who asked that question? You want to pipe in here and see what?
Debbie?
Debbie?
Debbie Taylor?
Okay. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
What I was trying to do is, we did this last night at our church with a session for an emergency meeting to decide how we could help the community. But we were all trying to learn. I got the invitation early, but I had no way, like once I loaded the app, it didn't show up as a upcoming meeting to me, like that I could just click on. I had to go back, find that email and click on it to get in. Is there some way to add that so that if I open the app, that upcoming meeting is already there and I just click on it?
If I understand you correctly, the answer is no, because the only upcoming meetings that show up are the ones that you have scheduled.
Right. So you have to be the host.
You have to be the host of the meeting for that to work. Now you can take the URL and just put that in the location of the meeting that you put in your calendar.
Oh, okay. And
then that's what I do for meetings. And then you can just open that up and click on the, often when you open your calendar, that'll be highlighted as a hyperlink, and you just click on it, it'll take you right to the Zoom meeting. Becky, you wanted to
that's what I needed. Thank you.
Yeah, I have had meetings from the General Assembly where my calendar app has asked me, do I want to add this to my calendar? And it has. So I think it will depend on which calendar app you have.
Okay.
And how you've been invited. If you've been invited through a calendar app that that shares those details, then that'll prompt you. And I think the easiest thing to do for most folks is just to add the URL, the Zoom link, into the location of your calendar entry when you mark that off on your calendar.
Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so one other feature that is very helpful in this kind of setting is the breakout rooms. And so we're going to try that now. We've got, how many people do we have, Becky? It looks like 25?
31.
31?
You and I.
Okay, well, it's
For me.
okay. I'm going to start a breakout rooms, and what's going to happen here? Let me rats. I need to get to All right. So once you get in the breakout room, you're going to do two things. You're going to do a brief introductions to make sure the other people know who you are. And then I want you to share some ways that you're imagining using Zoom in your setting. Okay, and you'll have about 2 minutes to do that. Just a brief introduction, who you are, maybe where you're from, and then what you're imagining as ways that you might be able to use Zoom in your setting. And you'll have 2 minutes for each person, and then you'll get a notice that the meeting will be closing, and then you wrap up your conversations and you'll come back to our group together. So can we do this with, if I say 10 rooms?
That'll give you about 3 per room.
That gives 3 per, maybe, yeah, because I'm only allowing 2 minutes apiece, so I better leave it like that. Okay, so you'll be divided up into groups of 3, and if you end up with only one other person, just let me know and I'll assign you to another group. You can come back out of the breakout rooms and let me know, or send me a note, or send Becky a note on the chat, and we'll take care of it. Okay, here we go.
It worked right, Vaughn. This is Roger Sellers. I was in the breakout room by myself.
Oh, you're okay. And I've got, let me see here. I think we have some people on phones. Okay.
So you're obviously seeing a whole lot more information as the host than we are.
I too was in a breakout room by myself.
Katie, this is Roger. I don't know if we may be in a separate breakout room now than what we were. I think we left the main meeting.
I think that's right. Yes.
I was asking the question. Vaughn's obviously got a lot more information on his screen than we have as participants. It looks
That's
like.
Hey, Julie.
Julie, you and Robert and Ursula have your mute
You got to unmute yourself.
still turned on.
Yeah, I had unmuted myself in the other group, and they couldn't hear me.
We can hear you.
Ursula, can you hear?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know when your name, you're coming up as a Galaxy S9 Plus, which means you're on your phone. Was it easy to log in with your phone? Or maybe it's just a static image.
Yeah,
Katie, Julie, are you guys logged in on a laptop?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay, for those of you who are hanging loose out here, I'm going to try to add you all to a breakout room.
Oh, cool. We thought we already were in a breakout room.
No, you're back in the main thing here. So hold on a second here.
Thanks.
I've got several people unassigned. Okay, who we got? Okay,
I was with Gloria and Andrea, and neither of them, I mean, nobody could hear anything. I mean, I unmuted myself and spoke.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. They might have inadvertently muted their video or audio somewhere along the way. Okay. Well, this is it's complicated when you have this many people, and especially for new users. So just tell me real quickly what you're thinking about in terms of how you see you might be able to use Zoom here.
I would love to be able to meet with the children once or twice a week. I think they would get a kick out of it.
Oh yeah.
Certainly the college students, and I'd like to be able to do session or Bible study during this time.
We've got some PNCs hanging out there.
Oh yeah.
Who are very anxious about the future of their churches because of the epidemic, and this will be a great tool to be able to continue with their training and reassure them that all is well and they can keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Many PNCs are using video interviews rather than person-to-person visits until you get right down to the very end. It seems to be working well. What other thoughts do you have in terms of how you might use this?
I'm planning at Christ and at Mulberry, every committee, sessions, staff, we're going to use this platform as opposed to several others we've looked at. And I'm also, like others have said, I'm trying to think of a day where we're going to have both congregations just an invite to have a Zoom chat room, a catch up. We don't know what we're going to call it. Somebody at the meeting yesterday said they're doing a Zoom room weekly, and it's really keeping their congregation connected.
Yeah. Well, unless they have video conferencing capabilities that require a lot of equipment, that usually refers to like connecting like at the seminary level, or with a conference room which has a big screen, and the Zoom has the ability to connect to that type of stuff.
Okay.
But usually you can meet with up to 100 people in a setting like this, and do just about everything you can do there. So what other thoughts are y'all having?
I think it's an awesome idea, and I think it has the capability of bringing our congregation together. However, we do have those that are technology savvy and those that probably don't, that would have to join together with those that have a computer to watch. How do we, to those that don't have technology, it can be very intimidating. So how do we help the congregation become less intimidated of using equipment and experiences like this? And how do we let them know, or how do we explain what great possibilities this can bring and how it can bring a congregation together?
Yeah. For those of you just joining us, several of us couldn't get into the breakout room, so we're just doing our discussion here with a large group. A great question. I think the answer to that is you proceed with gentleness and encouragement for people. This technology can be used on an iPad, on an iPhone, or on, most folks may not necessarily have computers or workstations home, but most of them have an iPhone or an iPad or an Android or a tablet. And Zoom works on all those. And just to give you an example, I have a 95-year-old mother who lives in West Virginia, and she does FaceTime regularly. And when we need to get a whole bunch of people together, we'll either use FaceTime or we'll use the Zoom client to bring in our family from all over the country. So it's just clicking on the link to get started, especially if you're on a tablet, is really easy to do. And if you're on a tablet, everything's built in and usually works really well. So it's people who have desktop or notebook sets up that have a lot of different pieces of equipment that sometimes you run into problems. But I would just encourage you to try it. Get some of your capable people to do a one-on-one session with people. And I've had to have the phone on in one ear and Zoom on the screen and talk people through the initial steps for getting it going. And then after that, it's pretty simple just to click the link and go.
Is there a way for people to call in on a landline?
Absolutely. In the meeting invitation, there's instructions on how to call, what number to call, and there's a meeting ID number that you have to type in.
Okay.
It's just like a conference call. You have to know what the conference number is, and you type that in, and that gets them hooked up.
Great.
I need to bring everybody back from the breakout rooms here. Some of them had good conversations, obviously. For those of you who are joining us back, what kinds of applications are you thinking at this point? You remember you have to unmute yourself if you're muted.
Well, this is Chad with Central Steel Creek. I'm clerk of session, and so one of the most important things is to be able to continue with our session meetings and support committee meetings. So that's where I'm most interested in.
Yeah, good. And I've got something at the end of our meeting. I'll tell you about how the polity of how that works. So
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other comments you wish to share with the larger group? When we see Becky come back in, we'll know that everybody's wrapped up their conversations. There you are. Becky, you want to check to see that everybody's back from, I think everybody's back from the breakout rooms.
Do that?
Yeah, I don't see anybody there still. Okay.
Yep, we're all good. Oh, we lost 2 along the way.
I'm so sorry.
We have 29 participants.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, you know, what's a learning you can take away from this experience that we just did? As you think about using this with your folks who may not have much experience using the technology or not having done this before, what can you take away from this experience?
I find it quite simple, but when I tried it with some of my session members this week, none of them, and I unmuted everyone, no one could speak. Or I couldn't hear anybody, let me put it that way.
It's so important for people to test their audio before they get into the meeting, because sometimes a setting is wrong on the computer, or they don't have something plugged in. And if they don't check it ahead of time, when you're in the meeting, it's almost too late to deal with that. So one thing.
Are easier?
Pardon?
Tablets are easier?
Tablets are easier, yeah, than having the extra stuff. The one thing you can do is start your meeting 15 minutes early and say, for those of you for whom this is the first time, check in and we'll make sure that everything's working before we get to the point where we have to, you know, have our discussion and talk. So, or do a one-on-one with them ahead of time if it's somebody who's worried about whether or not it's going to work for them or not.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other thing? Yes,
I have
Debbie.
a question.
Yeah.
We were talking about when you do the breakout rooms, can the host divide the people up? Say you have a subcommittee that needs to meet for a little bit and come back to a meeting, or can you break them out into the correct places that they need to be? Does that make sense?
Yes, with some caveats. The breakout rooms are most easily used in a random fashion. Okay. If you want people to be in specific groupings, you would definitely have to have a co-host who works, because Becky, you can actually move, once they're initially assigned before you open the breakout rooms, you can move them around to different groups. But if you want them in the same groups every time, they're going to have to be assigned by having each person create a Zoom account, and then you have to assign them as users in the Zoom cloud interface. So it's a lot more complicated. It would be much easier just to meet separately with each group than trying to do a large group meeting like that.
Vaughn?
Yeah.
I found last week when teaching that once everyone has signed in, when I went, as the host, you have to have, you'll see the breakout room at the bottom. And I clicked on that, and when I added manually, after everybody was on, I could go in and choose which people went in which group. I just couldn't do it before people signed in.
Signed into the breakout room?
Nope, signed in online. So as my students came in into this platform where they're all in like Brady Bunch form,
right?
Then when I hit breakout rooms, it gave me the manual or automatic. And when I hit manual, I had little boxes come up and I could check and assign people to groups.
So Debbie, there you go.
Okay.
So you'd have to do that every time though. There's no way.
Okay.
There is a way to group people together, but that requires what I was telling you about, going on to the web interface and doing that as users of your account. But
all right, so there comes our other question that we had in our breakout room. We're trying to do at our church where we can add the Bible studies and the Sunday school classes. Does the host our church has bought a license, but then our pastor said he thought that he could add users or whatever so that a user could host their Sunday school class. Is that correct? It's not a full license you have to purchase again, or what?
Well, in order to go over the 40-minute timeline, you have to be a pro user. So each pro user costs you $150 a year.
Ooh, okay.
So when it says add people, you don't want to add a whole bunch of people there because you're going to have to pay $150 a year for each one. But what you can do is for example, with the APSE organization, which I've been a part of for a number of years, we had one master account, and we insisted that everybody do their meeting scheduling online so that you can see who else is meeting to avoid conflicts. But you just use the master account information to create the meeting, and then you get an invitation you can send out to your group, and then they can join the meeting from there. So you basically share the account like you share Netflix and other things, but you share the account, but you have to be absolutely certain that you're clear about scheduling so that people don't end up meeting on top of each other.
Okay, so if we were going to do, say, we've got 3 Bible studies a week and 2 book clubs a week, and then we've got Sunday school classes. So the Sunday school classes would have to do at separate times.
Right. If you wanted to have the meeting simultaneously, they'd each have to have their own pro account. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Unless you put them in a small group. So unless you assign, once everybody gets on, you assign them, and each breakout room becomes the Bible study, or becomes the Sunday school class.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're going to have to monitor that and do all the configuration.
Yeah.
So when everybody gets in on Sunday morning, if they're insisting on being at 9:45, then they're going to somebody's going to have to put them in their right classroom.
That's exactly right.
Someone please try that and let us know how that works. I'd love to see here while it goes on. Okay, I'm realizing we're getting close to the end of time, so I want to make sure we cover a couple things real quickly. Let me share my screen. Just talk quickly about recording. These meetings, you can record on PCs and Macs. You can record to the local computer. So if you're on a PC or Mac, if your host gives you permission, you can record the meeting yourself, or the host can record it on their local computer. The issue there is if there was something would happen, if the power would go out or something, you might lose your recording. So you can also record to the cloud, but that requires a pro account. Basic users cannot record to the cloud. But if you're on a mobile device, your only option is to record to the cloud using a pro account. So I've done a lot of meetings with my iPad and been able to record the meeting, and it's worked great. You can do multiple webcams if you're looking at a setting where you want to do a little bit, be more creative, like in a worship service. Let me change my webcam here. I have a second webcam hooked up, and you can see my cluttered desk and everything right there. But if you had one set up for like a wide angle view and one close up with your speaker, then you can actually switch back and forth very easily by just changing the video stream that you're after. So that's another cool thing. Okay, let me, I need to get to, we've talked about a bunch of different use cases, but I wanted to share with you these guidelines from the PCUSA, and let me send you that document as a chat document. This is a crazy long title, but So let me pull that up on the screen. Okay, this is available, and in the Zoom presentation, which I mean the PowerPoint presentation I've been using, the links to this are all there, but you can find this on the web, the Presbyterian Church website. An advisory opinion on the church and epidemic. Let me just hit the high points. You can read this more in detail. You can conduct congregational meetings electronically, and you can hold session meetings electronically. The issue really comes down to whether or not you have previously authorized the use of electronic means to conduct the meeting. If it's not already in your bylaws, then there is a procedure for doing that. For example, what if the congregational session does not have a rule that provides for a meeting by electronic or virtual means? You can still go ahead and meet, but those decisions have to be ratified at a later time by regularly constituted meetings. And so most folks after this will probably have that put in their bylaws that you can do this. But for now, the official ruling is that it won't be decently in an order, but if you go ahead and do the work because it's an emergency, just make sure that all the decisions you make are ratified and that you create some sort of a rule that will allow you to do this in the future. So let me pause there, and that document goes into all kinds of detail. One other thing, they recommend that you cannot share the Lord's Supper virtually. That's not decent nor in order in the Presbyterian way of doing things. Are you scowling, Becky? I don't know.
Well, what I'm doing is remembering. This morning there's quite the thread on PC USA leaders on the Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most passionate responses I've seen between those who want to maintain polity purity, shall we say,
yeah,
and those who want to err on the side of compassion and community. And I think the important thing is to remember that in polity language, it said should, not shall not.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's always the challenge anytime we're working in the church is how much you maintain the purity of the church doctrinally or in terms of polity, or how much we're compassionate toward the people we're there to serve. So that I'm giving you the official stance of the church.
Right.
If it were me, I'll just tell you right now, I'd probably ask for forgiveness later. But that's me.
Except in baptism. I wouldn't do baptisms virtually.
Okay, but that's you.
That is me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're at the end of our time. I hope this has been helpful to you. Any last comments or thoughts or places that we could focus on the next time we try something like this? Okay. I hear some typing in the chat.
Vaughn.
Yeah. Harry.
I've got a couple of kind of technical questions. Could you give us your email address and I will send them to you that way? I don't want to take up time.
Certainly. Let me put it in the chat so everybody will have that.
Okay.
Where is it? Chat. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Chat is so helpful to distribute information like that so everybody gets it. And so if there's anything there that you need to download or copy, I'd urge you to do that because the chat goes away when the meeting ends. So if anybody needs a little bit extra time, let me know and I'll keep the meeting running. Yeah.
And so be sure and download the pieces.
That's what I'm talking about. The three documents that I shared.
Yes.
Yeah. You need to
Okay,
download.
this is a really retarded question, but I'm on my cell phone. So how do I don't even see the documents listed anywhere.
Then you'll have to wait until they show up on the Presbytery's website. And I see Alice on the call. Maybe she can make sure they get posted somehow or other.
Great.
So great. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, you've got my email. if there's any way I can be of any extra assistance to you in the near future, let me know. Becky is my second here, and also she's been using this in her work at the seminary and is very capable. So she's another person you can contact. Oh, she's got to leave her email address. So
there you go. And speaking of, I've got a faculty meeting that started 2 minutes ago. So
okay, well,
I'm moving that out. Thanks
well,
all for being here.
okay, thank you all for being here, and we hope this is helpful, and let us know if we can be of further assistance.
It's fabulous. Thanks, you guys.
God bless. I'm going to stay to the very end in case people need to get things from the chat. So
thank you.
You're very welcome, Albert. Glad you could join us.